Julie and her team of publicists specialize in helping under-the-radar businesses to get noticed through strategic communications. Specifically, she provides her clients an expert public relations Specifically, sorry everybody, I'm human. Specifically, she provides her clients with expert public relations counsel. So important in today's competitive business landscape. It gets her clients prime media coverage and assists with content placement, which leads to sales, partnerships, and more. I am thrilled to welcome the coffee drinking Julie Livingston to the show.
Hey, Wendy, great to be here with you today.
Thanks for being here. I am super excited, and here's why. I love, um, I love marketing. I love advertising. I know almost nothing, oddly enough, really about being in the PR space, the public relations space. Now, um, if you can remind me, because where did we meet? Did we meet on LinkedIn?
Yeah, actually, I was looking to connect with leading marketers and also podcasters who podcast about marketing subjects. So I found you, I reached out, and fortunately, you accepted my connection request. And here
You,
we are, wearing the
I
same color.
wearing the same color, which probably, ladies and gentlemen at home, we probably never wear orange except for today. It's all in the spirit of Thanksgiving, right?
I
We
love
could
it.
say that because orange is a Thanksgiving color. All right, so I think LinkedIn is awesome. By the way, it has changed so much. Can you um, tell me first a little bit about your company, and then also about what inspired you. I've watched your videos. I know that you're so involved in communications with women in New York, and you have this wonderful background in the communications world that inspired you. Maybe I'm thinking, and you can tell me why the under the radar. Why do you feel? I'm going to load you up with some questions that you can just rant on. Why do you feel, and I know you do, that LinkedIn is such an important platform, and if it is the most important platform professionally, uh, and and then we'll take it from there.
Those are great questions. First of all, I'll tell you a little bit about my company, and then I'd love to talk about LinkedIn and
Yes.
some social media. So my company is WantLeverage Communications. We're a full service public relations agency based in New York City. And yes, we do service under the radar businesses. And we help them to get the attention, the visibility, and brand and establish the brand credibility that they deserve so that they can outshine their competitors. And what we do involves getting them featured in the media that matters to them. So if, it might be the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal or Forbes, or it could be an industry trade publication that features their expertise in a particular subject area or industry vertical. It could mean developing content for them, branded content, and we place that content as thought leadership pieces in various places. Um, we also we broker strategic partnerships. So companies can really extend their brand reach by connecting with other like-minded companies that are in different sectors. For example, I have inked partnerships between industry associations and research concerns. I've put together for a nonprofit client that was more of a smaller nonprofit in the health and wellness space, connected them with another bigger nonprofit in the cancer space. They had an overlapping commonality. And through that, my client was able to really extend their reach and get to new audiences and drive traffic to their website. So ultimately, our work drives website traffic. It can increase product sales or sales of services, raise industry authority, and really overall increase one's visibility and brand credibility and brand affinity and loyalty. You want people to know your brand and go for it. I love LinkedIn, and I am actually, and LinkedIn is the networking platform for business professionals. There is no question about it. I think there are 619 million users of LinkedIn today from around the globe. And I specifically for my business have been using LinkedIn as a marketing platform so that I can connect with chief marketing officers and vice presidents of communications and other marketing professionals, so that they can know about the services that WantLeverage Communications offers and see how we can help them to
Now,
raise their brand credibility.
so one of the questions, or one of the things that I run into, because I think a lot of people, and you might disagree or agree, it sounds like you have kind of a hybrid, a brand, a mixture of not just public relations or PR. You also do marketing and other things, which is great because there are some publicists that are just publicists. They're just publicists, right? They just make those connections and they get you out there. A lot of people that I run into, not a lot of people, some businesses, entrepreneurs, startup, personal brands, whatever they might be, I have come across so many instances in my career where they'll come to me and they'll say, well, what makes you different than the PR firm that we paid $10,000 a month and didn't do anything for me? Right?
There's
And
a
I'm
big
like,
difference.
totally,
Yeah.
completely different. Can
I
you
know there's
explain?
such a big difference. I'd be happy to explain. First of all, it's interesting because public relations is actually a function of marketing. It sits under the marketing umbrella, which really covers a lot. And um, public relations as a field has really developed tremendously in the last 25 to 30 years. And even within the last 5 to 10 years, has really spread its wings and to include a lot of other functions that we used to just relegate to marketing.
Right.
And the reason is because for many companies and brands, an integrated marketing approach where so in my case, where public relations is a function that helps you raise your brand visibility and credibility, right? Well, we do that not only through media relations anymore, right? We could use social media,
Right.
we can do Facebook advertising, we could do Instagram live, we can do so many different things to raise a brand's credibility. We can develop content for them. And now we're busy placing content for clients and maybe paying for some PR opportunities for them. But we're also being asked, because we develop the key messages, the key brand messages that companies and brands want to promote, you want to make sure that those messages are consistent
Right.
across every marketing platform that you use. So you want to make sure that your direct mail, your email marketing is using similar messaging to what's on your website or what's in a press release or what's on your social media platforms. And that's how public relations is now really it really covers so many different things. It makes my job very interesting because we really have our toes in a lot of different areas. And I get to bring in my network of amazing marketing professionals in email marketing, in events, in social media strategy, graphic design, production, video, all kinds of things that clients really need today to get their brand message out
Well,
there.
that's awesome. And I will go on record that if you ever need anybody to help you out with any of that stuff, you just let me know because here I am. Okay. My background has always been in producing the commercials for direct response and stuff. And we would always say, okay, back in the day, not back in the day, but when digital started to arise and websites, because I've been in the space since 1993, we've had to shift and pivot and bring in all of the different verticals that say into one space. Which we would call omni-channel marketing, right? I know that, but that was a really cool catchphrase a few, maybe
Right.
8, 9 years ago. It's like, oh, you do omni-channel marketing. Well, yeah, because, we've now have to have a website and we have to have, all of these things. But I would always tell my clients from the because I do concept to consumer, right? That you never want to, and I make this mistake myself, I think you pointed it out to me, but you always want, to your point, you always want people to feel if they're jumping off of one place that and they landing someplace else, if they're in they see a commercial and that drives somebody to a website, that website better look kind of just like the commercial. Don't
There's no
have it
question.
completely different, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
And then make people feel, that gives them the comfort. They know they're in the right place, right? So your consistent message is so important across the spectrum. Now, what do you tell people? I just thought of this. What do you tell people when, let's do a landing page for this, let's do a landing page for that, and a landing page, and test, test, test. I come from a world of testing, right? So, but you can't clutter it up too much. What are the biggest mistakes people make? Let's go with that one.
Well, the biggest mistakes people make, well, first of all, when they bring us in, when they bring our team in, it really starts with a conversation about the client's business goals and objectives. What do they want to achieve through this program? And what kind of results are they looking for? And then the next step in that conversation is really managing their expectations. Public relations takes time. It's just like building a relationship with a new friend or colleague. It doesn't just, you don't just develop into a best friend scenario in a minute or in a day or even in a week or a month. It takes time to develop those relationships.
Yeah.
And if your company or brand has not had any visibility, or it's been kind of under the radar, you've been around for a while, but people don't think of your brand or company as the number one in its category, well, then it's going to take time to kind of ramp up that visibility and that notoriety. So I try to manage their expectations. A number of clients will come to me and say, I want to be in the New York Times. Well, that's great. I mean, a lot of people want to be in the New York Times, but what kind of story are we telling here? Is the New York Times even, the right media outlet for you? Do you really have a news story to tell? Just because you think it's newsworthy doesn't mean that it is. So there are criteria that we follow.
Right. So when people come to you, I think I asked you because last night I went on LinkedIn and you had created a post about a month ago. And a lot of the women on LinkedIn were really chiming in, and they were so grateful for these tips that you had given. And I have them right here with me, right?
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
And, clearly identify the story you want to tell. Is it one about a new product intro in response to COVID-19, breakthrough technology, entrepreneurship? Number 2, what are the target audiences you want to reach through your campaign? Be uber specific. And that doesn't mean take a cart to the specific place. That means really be hyper specific, such as potential buyers of my new product. And, I have gone through all of this stuff that you're listing here with either products that I've had, my own personal brand, the confusion of what is the story that I want to tell. I think I wrote to you last night and I said, but Julie, what if you have, which media outlets cover your story? Maybe it's not correct one. You can go through this list better than I can. But I said, after reading the ladies' comments, I thought to myself, this is what my problem is these days, is that everybody over 60, over 50, in midlife, whatever, they got to reinvent themselves. I've been reinventing myself my entire life and career. I have so many different things. I'm going through, I'm on a PARP inhibitor right now, which is this new medication for ovarian cancer patients, which is really questionable and it makes you feel like crap, but it saves your life. I have so many stories to tell that I feel are important. So how does one truly define what that story is that they do want to tell?
Well, that's a great question, Wendi. I mean, we go through a conversation, a discussion process where we really drill down on the story and why we think it might be newsworthy today or not. Now, in today's environment where COVID-19 has really, taken over the news, it is harder to get featured in the media in general, because reporters are really focusing on things having to do with the pandemic. So in my checklist here, that's why I mentioned, does your product have a connection to COVID in some way?
Yeah.
That will make it rise to the top in terms of its news value. Have you created something? Do you have a new technology that's going to help? I don't know. If you're a manufacturer, do you have a new technology that's breakthrough and that will really make a difference in your industry? Well, then that might not be a story that's right for a general media outlet like the New York Times, but it might be more suited for an industry publication, which are usually a little easier to get into.
Yeah.
They're also a great stepping stone. So if your company has been flying under the radar, starting with an industry publication is a great way to start building credibility for yourself, your brand, your thought leadership. Then we go and we leverage that coverage, and then we start reaching higher to more of a general media outlet, based on your story. But you really have to drill down on the story, and you have to really use an outsider's perspective and think like a reporter. Why should a reporter care about your story?
Exactly.
And that's a
Exactly.
tough one. People don't want to hear it, but you have to think that way.
Well, it's kind of like, people come to me and they have this great idea or they have this product or whatever it might be, and I always look at them and I say, "Don't tell me what's great about your product. I want to know what's wrong with your product. What are your challenges?"
Yeah. And honestly, any media pitch that has an overabundance of superlatives, like this is fabulous, this is great, this is never seen before, a reporter will toss it in the garbage.
Right.
Because it lacks credibility. You really have to explain why your story fits in what they've been reporting about. So you have to study their reporting history. What do they typically write about? What have they featured? Does your story kind of fit into that that hierarchy?
So, when someone comes to you, a client comes to you, and they're new, let me just say this: what is the perfect client for you? I want to make sure to get this in.
Yeah.
What is the perfect client for you? Because I understand, I've been there. I had a publicist back in early 90s when I was a spokesperson for a diet product, and it was just a huge success. So Ray decides that, my first time ever having a publicist, he was the second one we hired, because the first one, the partners in the company, basically, we paid. They said, give us 3 months. They didn't do anything. This was my learning about PR, right? I found Ray Costa. Ray Costa jumped in and he took me on this whirlwind trip across California during these terrible torrential rains. We got stuck in mudslides, to radio stations for 10-minute live interviews on local radio stations. But this is what you do, and because that's who would book me, or book actually the product, the story, and all of that. And then the lengths he went through to get me there and go with me and coddle me and make sure I'm okay, and and work that relationship with the radio stations, because it's very important that the PR firm that you hire has these relationships. It's the relationships you're paying for. Honestly, that's what I
the
learned.
relationships and also the knowledge of the media landscape, and knowing what the best outlets would be, how they are fit for what your story is. The perfect client for us is really a business or a brand that's kind of been around for, I would say, at least 5 years or so, and has been doing okay. It's kind of been coasting along, but they are not recognized as the number one brand in their field, the number one company in
Well,
their
that
field.
would be my toilet stool company.
Okay.
Seriously,
So-
it is. That is the perfect example of the challenges that I've had with my toilet stool, and then it's a long story, but anyway, I was called all different kinds of names. The media, because of Squatty Potty, they went on Shark Tank, which, by the way, they were a client. I'm the one that put them on the radar, and then they kind of screwed me. Everybody knows my story with them, and so then I went and I created a toilet stool. I didn't have a compete and non-compete or anything like that, but then what I suffered in that was I could never get any PR or attention because, oh, you copied Squatty Potty. And it was like, well, did Mercedes copy BMW when they made a car? I mean, it's just a product, right? Of a different shape and model. So those challenges, my company has been under the radar for 6 years.
So
And
you're under the radar and you want to be in that number one position. We serve companies that have been under the radar that are family owned. And we have a client now where the owner is a second generation family member. In a couple of years, he's going to look to sell the business. But because they've been under the radar, they really want to raise their visibility so that they'll be more attractive to future purchasers of the
thank you.
company.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, this when you say under the radar, I know that in different industries, under the radar means different things. For instance, just so in direct response television, the world that I come from, flying under the radar is when we would use that term when we had a terrific success. We would put it on television, we would test it, and we had this amazing success, and we wanted to stay under the radar because we didn't want the competition coming in. So we
Right,
would buy as much local
right.
media television as we possibly could, and we would grab that audience before anybody actually knew that this was really successful, right? And then
That's
the
right.
competitors come in, and the FTC comes in, and everybody comes in. But
Under the
so
radar is a brand that's sort of lesser known, not of lesser quality necessarily, but just is lesser known, does not have that that visibility that the top brand in the field have.
okay, so can you give me an example of someone that you took besides the one that you just mentioned,
Mhm.
a company that you took, or let's talk. Can we talk about personal branding, coaches? You know, there are so many coaches, right? And
Girl, I
per-
work with one.
it just seems like everyone suddenly became a coach. I have lots of friends that are coaches or influencers or whatever, but I always say, my favorite coach is Lori Kleinman because she's super certified, right? She's not someone that decided one day, I've got life experience and I'm going to go coach somebody else. She's very experienced, so I trust that in her, and I like that very much. So let's talk about specifically, because this is a midlife show, being midlife. So this wasn't on my list of questions I sent you last night. Being in midlife, trying to reinvent yourself in creating a personal brand from probably your professional experience, but yet you come from a corporate background. You have no idea. You might have wonderful assets to share personally, but you yourself have no idea one inkling about marketing, branding, naming, logos, you name it. Yet you do have something to offer, but you're lost in how you get started.
I think that's a great question, and people ask me that all the time, actually. The best thing to do is to really get educated. And I would start by studying the competitors in the space where you want to operate. And I mean, study them. What does their service or product look like? How do they talk about it? What's the language that they use? What does their website look for? Are they on social media platforms? And if so, which ones? And what kind of following do they have? How many followers and fans do they have? Or is there engagement on their social media platforms? Like, what's the buzz about this brand that makes them so the leader in the space? And then how can you differentiate your brand?
Thank you.
Because there has to be something. There have to be things that will set you apart from the competition.
That's right. You always have to have a unique selling proposition. I always would say everyone is a product and everyone needs marketing to succeed. It doesn't matter if you're a CPG or if you're a toilet paper roll or if you're a human. You're a product. At the end of the day, you're a product.
Yeah.
And you must have a differentiator. And if that differentiator isn't strong enough from the competition, whether that's in your backstory or your reason for how you got into doing something or just actually in your product itself, then you really don't have too much of anything. It's pretty hard to grab onto something as a consultant, as you know, to help a client figure it all
You're
out.
right. You are really right. And so the client really has to do a lot of upfront homework. It is not simple. Once once you're actually sitting down and writing out all of this stuff, it prompts a lot of other thoughts and ideas. And so you really have to stay extremely focused um, on writing out your story and then comparing it to other competitors in the space and identifying how you're different and why people should buy from you. Why?
Right. Why they should buy from you. And that's not buying something from you. Why they should pay you to be in their world, right? Because especially now, it's very, very tricky. It's people are holding on to every penny. There's some people who are just actually spending them like crazy because they're in that space that COVID made them more money than most of humanity on this planet right now. But and then I did a short episode on my other podcast where I said I feel like I'm in a plastic bubble, right? I feel like I'm in this bubble where I'm bouncing around and I'm trying to find something to grab onto,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't reach it. I just can't reach it because everyone is in this bubble bouncing around. We don't know what, you know. Alex Trebek said it best, actually. He said he was interviewed before he died of his cancer. And I've often said this because I'm a cancer patient. You know, when you are diagnosed with cancer, the thing that changes the most is that you no longer have an open ended lifespan, right? You pretty much know how you're going to die unless you get hit by a Mack truck or something else happens to you, right? And that changes your perspective on everything. It's this, it gives you more of a sense of urgency or, to get things accomplished in your life, right? And today, I think because of COVID and the changes that we've made, we haven't, we don't, the end is so open. It's scary because nobody can really latch on to where they're going, where they're going to be. If that direction that they're headed with their personal branding, with whatever it is that they're doing, is going to take them where they want to be because we don't know what is going to be.
Right. I mean, the world is a bit uncertain right now, but the fact is that a lot of businesses will survive and get through. I think that, it's really quite wonderful when you can develop a business as a consultant um, or entrepreneur that really you're so passionate about, because that's sometimes the thing that's missing in the corporate environment, that you may have a passion for the business, but then you have to deal with the politics and you have to deal with the bureaucracy and the meetings,
Right.
the 24-hour meetings.
Yeah.
Um, being in your business, being in your own business, I have found, and this is my third time as an entrepreneur, is very liberating and freeing. I have the ability to work the way I want to work, and I can call the shots and be selective about the clients that I can help.
So,
I find it really energizing, actually, and it's a wonderful feeling to get up in the morning and know that you are, your passion is kind of directing how you're going to spend your day.
yeah, well, I could argue that fact. I've been doing it for 28 years, and it's like, I'm a high school graduate that found herself as a successful entrepreneur with a creative agency one day, right? But and that was many years ago, and it for me, I never knew a different world, right? Like when I had a client, like let's say Time Life was my client, I loved going into the office because I desired that collaboration. I desired to be around that corporate environment because yet I don't want to work full time in the corporate environment,
Right.
right? So I actually have had the best of both worlds, but there are so many, ageism is a problem. There are so many people over 50 now, even more, and now the competition is really out there as far as getting gigs, getting a creative gig. I used to have 3, 4, 5 gigs at a time. Seriously, my referrals were just crazy. I never advertised or anything, but now it's like there is so much competition, really, from the younger generation, which is awesome. I saw your interview about 5 years ago that you did with Ramona.
Right.
And I love that because I like to promote intergenerational workforces, collaboration. How can we learn from each other? I love that about, I don't think ageism is a problem if you are accepting of bringing
Well,
it all together.
yeah, and actually that was a great story, and because it happened, it happened to me. I
Hmm.
found myself at a juncture in my career. This is about 8 years ago or so, where I really needed to embrace social media. And although I was on social media platforms, I wasn't fluent enough so that I could really help my clients. And so I asked a younger colleague of mine who was on a committee that I was overseeing for New York Women in Communications, a professional organization, and I asked her if she would mentor me. And she kind of looked at me cross-eyed and said, "I'm going to mentor you." And I said, "Yeah, I need to learn Twitter,
Yeah.
and I want you to stand over my shoulder and kind of guide me." And so we had a few adjustments to make, but we did start meeting on a regular basis. And she showed me the way with Twitter to the point where I started hosting Twitter chats on a
Good.
regular basis. I really ended up loving it. And I, in turn, coached her on her career path and navigating the corporate world, and really developing her marketing career. So we helped each other, but it was a reverse mentoring situation.
I think that's beautiful, and I think that that's what getting back to LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is very interesting because um, if you're going to do LinkedIn the right way, then you should take some of the courses on how to do LinkedIn the right way,
Yeah,
right?
LinkedIn is just the most sensational platform. I can't say enough about it, but I've had to learn about it. I've taken a number of courses on it. I'm in a course now that's actually geared toward uh, female business consultants,
Ooh,
and I'm learning a lot about what LinkedIn wants, what the algorithm is, and
yeah.
so how you can develop your content to be attractive to it. And it's been quite eye-opening, and I'm posting consistently. So I am posting on LinkedIn every day.
Yeah.
And
Can
I
I
must
ask
say
a
that I'm
can,
seeing the results.
yeah, so are you getting clients from LinkedIn?
I am.
Okay. Uh, I have to the thing that I think is most challenging for me is the time. Things are time consuming.
It
Now I
is
know
time
you can do
consuming.
content calendars and you can do all of that stuff, but I personally feel as though I get so distracted. Our lives are full of distractions these days. It's not the same as going to the office, sitting down, turning your computer on, and being focused on your day's work. It's so freaking distracting because social media is there. Even LinkedIn, you can crawl into that rabbit hole very
Oh, yeah.
quickly.
I try to, you know what, Wendy, I agree. And I really try to carve up my time on it, so that I can use it effectively. So what I usually do, I would say 9 days out of 10, I create my post the night before so that it's pretty much ready to go. And then I posted it around 9 a.m. so that it gets into that. There's a window of time from 9 to 11 a.m. I'm on the East Coast when you'll get more traction for your
Right.
content. So
Yeah.
that's really what I do. I've tried to also go through my contact network. I mean, and I have thousands of contacts, but I have found that they weren't always the right ones. So I've actually gone through and deleted a lot of contacts that I had, and now I'm rebuilding my network with the right individuals who are those who would make hiring decisions to bring me in on programs. So I'm really looking to connect with chief marketing officers, vice president of communications, vice president of marketing, those with people with those titles across industry sectors.
Yeah.
So I'm really rebuilding my network, and again, that's how I met you.
Yes, yes, and I am so thankful for that. Actually, I'm very grateful. I wanted to ask you last night. Um, I started to work on because I realized, C Spot Run Productions doesn't have a business LinkedIn page. Okay, does Want Leverage have a business LinkedIn page?
That is such a good question. The business LinkedIn pages are just not as relevant. That doesn't mean you shouldn't have one. But the fact is that when you're networking on LinkedIn, it's about making a personal connection,
Hmm.
not necessarily with a business, the way
Yeah.
you might do on Facebook. It's different. So my Want Leverage Communications LinkedIn page is really dormant. What I really am promoting is to connect with me,
Yes,
Julie Livingston, on LinkedIn. And
that's
then you'll learn about me, my background, and my business. That's
exactly.
become my landing page actually for my business is my LinkedIn profile. I have written it as a landing page, not like, a resume, because I'm not looking for a job, but it is a landing page. So if you look at it, it's structured differently.
I looked at your page extensively, and because I'm problem with being a creative mind is that you're never, Picasso said your art is never finished, right? And I'm always going, well, oh, maybe I could use that in my
Right.
headline, or maybe I should use that, or I need to rewrite my summary because my summary, some people say write it as a narrative, other people say write it as a story, other people say, make it very professional. And because my background is so diverse, and in direct response is ubiquitous now. It seems as though, and the vernacular for my industry has changed over time. Like you're saying the same thing, people, that we said this way 5 years ago. Now you're saying it that way. For me, and I'm sure I am not the only one, it becomes extremely overwhelming to know that you've created your LinkedIn profile, which is very, very important, correctly, because you know what, you go on LinkedIn. Sorry that we're pounding on LinkedIn right now, but you go on LinkedIn and you'll see video people are just posting freaking videos every day, and it's like, I'm not
Well,
sure I think
y-
that's right.
well, LinkedIn has its own video platform that you have to get permission
I
to use.
have approval to do
So you
that, and
do.
I
Okay.
and I can't even
I would
figure out
say
what to
start
do.
with I would say chunk it down because otherwise you will get overwhelmed. I would definitely start by again, it goes back to the research. Study the LinkedIn profiles of people who were your competitors. See how they lay things out. But I bet that you're going to find that they are using kind of an older approach to their LinkedIn profile. For business consultants and entrepreneurs, creating your profile like a landing page instead of like a resume. A landing
So
page,
should you
it's going to be all full of content that explains what you can do for your clients. What will the results be? Why should they want? Keep asking yourself, why will clients want to work for me?
so in the summary section, that because it goes like this, it goes your profile, your headline, and then your summary. So when if I was to post a question to you and something you post, what's going to show up is my picture, my name, and then a little bit about my
That's
headline
right. So make
and
sure that that headline explains what
what
you
you
do
do.
for clients.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, I just learned that the other day and I thought it was yay, you
And
know.
look to, where a great source of information is LinkedIn itself. There's LinkedIn Learning, and they have a lot of bite-sized videos that will help you to kind of chunk down the task of creating this landing page for your profile by watching their how-to videos. I found that extremely
Yes.
useful.
Yeah, I do that too. And I did get approved. It took me about 6 months, I think, to get approved for LinkedIn Live,
I'm still waiting.
but I haven't used it because I'm not, I want to be focused on the topic. And I think there's like a window that you have to actually do your
I
first
wouldn't
live.
worry that much about the video. I think that
Okay.
LinkedIn is not as much of a visual platform as it is informational. I would start with getting the content right.
Okay, because there's different opinions about that, but quite frankly, honestly, myself, I don't like to scroll through stuff and just see the guy in the car, right, talking, or somebody espousing that they're perfect and they're the greatest, and you should this way you should
Well,
do it. And shut
that's not
up.
effective content. Again, you want people to look at whatever you post, whether it's an article that you're commenting on, again, so you're providing your perspective. You want to create a persona that will attract the people you want to work for, or that will attract your future clients.
Right, like-minded,
Why
like-minded
should they
people.
care? Because you're offering information that will actually help them.
Right. We'll move on in 1 second. I know for myself, I get very frustrated when I see people complaining, like, you know, complaining posts,
Oh,
right?
that's a drag. But that's social media. People use social media. It's such a public platform. People use it often to complain about things. And you know,
Go
that's
to
bound
YouTube if
to
you want
happen.
that. Go to YouTube because YouTube is just.
Bound to happen. You can't do anything about that. It's the nature of the platform.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about we've pretty much nailed kind of your services, right?
Yeah, I think
We've
so.
talked about kind of the perfect client for you, for your company. Um, what is it that you think are the three, not three, what's the biggest mistake people make? Did we hit on that? Like, what is really the biggest mistake besides I want to be on the New York Times, besides overblowing, that their product or their service really is
The,
relevant when it
the
really
biggest
isn't?
the biggest mistake that people make when it comes to public relations and wanting to plan a program is that they are expecting instant results, and that just does not happen.
It takes about 3 months, right? Isn't that
It
like the
could take
standard?
longer. It could take longer. It really depends what we are, promoting, what the story is, how, it depends on so many factors, but most often it does not happen immediately.
Okay.
Public relations is different than advertising. It often gets called as free publicity, but it's really not. Advertising is also a marketing function like public relations, where the client actually writes the message, pays for the message to be a full page ad in the New York Times, just as they want it to be said
Right.
and featured, right? But with public relations, we are trying to get other people, other media outlets, reporters, television producers to talk about you, your expertise, your services, your ideas, your products. So it's coming from them. And it has a more authentic kind of feel. It has a different kind of credibility that in many cases is really over and much higher than advertising, because it's someone else speaking about you.
So that is so editorial versus advertising.
That's
It
right.
is editorial is always so much more effective than advertising. Advertising is a paid medium. It's a paid medium. Um, and when there's an article written about you or something like this is like, and
It
then
really,
how
it
you,
really elevates you. And there are so many ways that we coach clients for them to leverage that media coverage. They can use it in their uh, web advertising. They could use it on their website, their social media platforms. They can use it in email marketing, in their email signature even. And it just raises them up to another level. It elevates them in a way that advertising does not.
right, because advertising is advertising. Anybody can throw an ad in anywhere,
That's
but
right. But
not
you
every.
have you do have less control with public relations. So there is a certain amount of risk to it. I cannot, if I broker an interview with a reporter at USA Today for a client, we will do our best to prepare the client, also to set up the interview with the reporter, so we manage the kinds of questions. We could suggest the kinds of questions that they might want to ask our client. But in the end, it is going to be the reporter who writes the story. And there is always a risk that the client may not like it.
Right, where that reporter always ends the article with but. So, um, okay, so I think we've got all of those points covered. I love the name of your company, Want Leverage Communications, because really what public relations is leveraging everything else that you are doing.
That's right. We help companies to leverage their brand assets.
Exactly. They're brand assets. And this is something that a lot of people do not understand, even other companies, as to what assets really mean as far as a brand and its assets, a company and its assets. Um, I do want to touch real quickly in the time we have left on what do you think of using podcasting to build your brand?
Podcasting is a great vehicle and a great communications platform for a lot of reasons. first of all, if you're looking to establish yourself or your client as an industry authority, an industry leader, with podcasts, there are so many available that you could really drill down on a particular subject area. And chances are you'll find a podcast that focuses in on that. So it's a great way to be very specific and targeted, um, for you to reach a certain kind of audience.
It also is a great way to show your prowess, to show your personality.
Yes,
Video might be one thing, but a lot of people aren't suited. Nobody has people don't have faces for video, or they have a face for radio, as they say, right? And I find, I've been in the podcast space, I've been in that world for about 12 years now, and I always did it from a passion perspective and sharing my, and because podcasting has grown so exponentially, right? There's like 65 million podcasts or something like this.
isn't that incredible?
It's
I mean,
just,
it's a
it's
great place
stupid,
to
actually.
showcase your leadership and really showcase the personality of your brand or of yourself if you're a subject matter expert. And it's a wonderful way to get content,
Thank you.
shareable content.
That's what I was wanted to lead around to. Right.
That you can promote on your various marketing platforms.
Right.
It's a very powerful thing, and you can also, I guess, edit that when you're looking to share it. You could cut it up and really get those sound bites that position you well.
Right. And also, it gives the ability to meet people if you have an interview type of podcast. And what I always tell people is, well, podcasting is this, even if nobody listens, honestly, because it's pretty hard to get people to listen. But even if nobody listens, it doesn't make any difference because it just takes that one person. You just need that one special person to
That's right.
change your world. And also, it's giving you a marketing asset. It's giving you a tool to use. So, for instance, for people listening, Julie being on my show today, you'll be able to take that as an asset and to leverage it across different mediums for your own company and for your personal and for your
That's
company's
right.
brand.
And it shows your personality. I think
Yes.
people today want to make a personal connection with a brand or company that they endorse. And so the podcast really allows, uh, you know, thought leaders, industry executives to showcase that human side of their brand.
Plus, an audio format, audio is so much easier to share. It's so much easier to consume, right? When people are walking, the thing about podcasting is also there is not a lot of engagement in podcasting. There's actually pretty much zero engagement, right? Because it's a medium that is people are choosing when to listen to it, whether they're on a walk, on a treadmill or whatever. They're not in an engaging, they're not on LinkedIn watching a video where they can actually make a comment right away. Right. It's a very different medium.
Yeah.
And it's a misunderstood medium, but it is a easy to enter medium. And so it's really great.
And I think you really, because people are listening to it on usually a headset, you really have their full attention.
Yes.
So if you want to get your messages across, it's a wonderful platform for
and
that.
it's easy to share. It's very easy to share.
Yeah.
And with that, I know you're running out of time because I know you have a meeting in 7 minutes. I'm being very conscious. Let's tell people about your free download, your website, and your. Okay.
Really, we have a free downloadable, a free tip sheet called 7 Tips to Establish Industry Authority. And you can find that on our website, which is www.wantleverage.com.
And I love your website, by the way, because it is so right on. It's like, here it is. This is what we do. No fooling around. No,
It's got good energy, right?
Right. And when I do websites for companies, it's like, and sometimes there are millions of pages, but it's like, get in there, say what you want to say, and make it easy. I do want to ask you in just 3 minutes, my website, I put it all in one place, a one-stop shop, my personal brand, my C-Spot Run Productions. I wanted to make it easy. Do you believe that that is a good strategy for people who have multiple talents and things to offer to drive I think it's a good strategy to drive people to one place, and then it's
Well,
all
the
there
thing
for
I
them.
really like about your website, number one, is that it communicates your personality and your brand. And
Thank you.
I really like the simplicity of it, and the navigation bar on top is very easy to find what you want.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I did that all by myself.
Really, it's very attractive.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I wanted something that to show my expertise in being creative and being able to develop things and be able to make things easy, right? People ask me where there's no background there on you, right? And I said, well, if you want my background, just ask me for it. I'll send it to you. But I don't want my website to talk about that I'm a cancer patient or that I was, a battered wife, or I don't want that. But you want to
Right.
know that? Just ask me that, and I will send that to you. Anyway, I loved having you on the show, Julie.
Thank you, Wendy. This was so much fun.
Yeah, and I hope that we can still let's stay communicating.
Definitely.
Okay.
Thank you
Uh,
so much. I hope you have a good Thanksgiving.
Thank you. You too. We're
It'll
not
be a
doing
little
anything.
different this year, but we still have a lot to be grateful for, right?
We have a lot to be grateful for. So stay healthy and stay
Thank
well
you.
and stay
And
safe.
you as well.
Thank you, Julie.
Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Bye. Awesome. I will send everything to you. Don't worry. Okay.
Wonderful. This was terrific.
All right.
Thanks again,
Yeah.
Wendy.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay. Bye now.